This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The Lions have a few Pro Bowlers.
Yay!
3 of them, if I'm right, if I recall correctly.
DSP,
And the Ravens
nice
also
soul.
added a Pro Bowler today. I wonder who that could be.
Not Lamar Jackson.
Well, he's still hurt, isn't he?
Yeah. There was a post on Twitter. I can't remember who posted it, but it was a picture of Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley, and it said, "Ravens, you need to re-sign your Pro Bowl corp."
Does this end the accolade, the accolade of becoming a Pro Bowler? Is this just the end?
I still don't understand why Tyler Huntley's a Pro Bowler to begin with.
I don't either. I honestly God have no idea. But obviously, guys, welcome to the Fan Report. I'm Nick. With me is Andrew.
What's up, guys?
We're on episode number 190. This week we are going to be talking about the joke that is the Pro Bowl for about 5 minutes before I get angry and want to move on to something else. That also will probably make me angry. Then we're going to kind of talk about the Pistons. We got some deadline conversation. I believe this is the last episode that we will have before get released. I should say before
we'll be
the
recording
deadline.
for the deadline next week.
We will be. But so we wanted to make sure we got some deadline stuff in. But you can follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. We are brought to you by Detroit Sports Podcast Network at Detroit Podcasts, where you can find them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Lions have Pro Bowlers. You know, when we thought everybody got snubbed, it changed. And then, I was honestly, I was a little bit excited when I saw that Amon-Ra St. Brown and it was Hutch, right? Hutch was the other one?
I think it was ASP, Panay Sewell, and Jared Goff.
Oh,
right?
Panay Sewell,
Yeah.
right. It was ASB, Panay Sewell, and then I saw Jared Goff got announced, and I was like, oh, sweet. All 3 guys, for the way they played this year, honestly deserve it. And then come to find out later on my way home that Tyler Huntley is also a Pro Bowler from the Baltimore Ravens. A guy who played 4 games and was awful in those 4 games is a Pro Bowler. I get it. It's a flag football game.
I don't understand it.
I don't either. I don't.
Is everybody hurt? I'm trying to figure. I'm still trying to figure this
Tyler
out.
Huntley is replacing Josh Allen.
Yeah, I know. So is everybody hurt? Like they didn't have any other quarterbacks?
Maybe everybody else turned it down. Because why would you even bother? If you're a self-respecting NFL athlete, why would you bother? And honestly, I bet you after this year, you'll see a lot more guys come up with injuries, quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes. Come Pro Bowl time, because it's a worthless, meaningless game. Like, why would you bother playing in this game if guys like Tyler Huntley get in for 4 games? We're not talking Geno Smith playing the season of his life. We're talking Tyler Huntley, who looked bad in the 4 games he played in relief for the injured Lamar Jackson. It's a mockery of what the accolade of a Pro Bowl was. It used to be something that you could look at and say, oh, he's in the Hall of Fame because he made 8 Pro Bowls or 7 Pro Bowls. Well, Tyler Huntley's now going to have a 1X Pro Bowl next to his name.
Hall of Famer.
So I wish they would just get rid of it, honestly. Let's just stick with the All-Pro.
If we're going to have Tyler Huntley in the Pro Bowl, might as well just get rid of it at this point.
Yes. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. I get you want to get the fans involved for the fan voting, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Who cares? The fans got to have their way, or got to enjoy watching an entire season. They don't need to also click a button a bunch of times to get their favorite player in. And Tyler Huntley is whose favorite player? What are Tyler Huntley's jersey sales at across the league? Because I don't recall. Has anyone outside of the dozens of people in his family bought a jersey of his? Probably not. I don't understand.
I don't understand.
I don't get, I haven't even seen
is Mike
the
White
explanation
hurt?
For it.
Is Mike White hurt?
I believe he actually was, because he spent a lot of the year hurt, didn't he?
Yeah, but he ended up coming back, remember?
Yeah, but he's probably still nursing. You know what I find funny?
I'd put Kenny Pickett in over him.
You know what I find funny? about the Josh Allen injury?
Yeah.
So Josh Allen, obviously elbow injury, says he's too hurt to play in the Pro Bowl next week. Guess what he's doing this weekend?
No idea.
Playing in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the guy's apparently too hurt to play in the Pro Bowl.
Probably more fun.
But he's going to play in a golf tournament. Honestly, it is. If having been to neither of them, just from my perspective as a fan, if I had to choose between playing in one over the other, I would choose the Pebble Beach Pro-Am 10 times out of 10. Not even a question.
Was Bailey Zappi injured?
Good. Honestly, probably played better than Tyler Huntley did.
Shit. I would take Mac Jones over Tyler Huntley.
I would.
I'm going through teams in the AFC. Basically.
So, new development here that I am learning. Tyler Huntley's nickname is Snoop. Could they be playing a media angle with Snoop Dogg, and that's why he's in?
Really?
Yes, apparently, according to Ian Rappaport.
Why is his name Snoop?
I don't know. But could they be playing the media angle? The social media angle, and then have Snoop Dogg show up?
Maybe.
I don't understand what a Pro Bowl is anymore. I don't.
What if we Google why is Tyler Huntley a Pro Bowl?
I'm actually actively doing that right now. I am. I'm reading articles here to try to figure out why.
No one knows, it looks like.
Mm-mm.
Like, who voted him in? This wasn't a fan vote, right?
No, this was purely a replacement. So let's see. AFC quarterback position, Justin Herbert's hurt, Lamar Jackson's hurt, Tua Tagovailoa's hurt, Josh Allen is hurt. Joe Burrow technically is already in, but Joe Burrow's in, Trevor Lawrence is in. What?
He actually finished this is based on the vote. He finished 7th in voting behind Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, Tua, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson.
Is that a joke? This is why fans shouldn't be allowed to do things.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, I got to ask you, what's a bigger mockery? Tyler Huntley in the Pro Bowl?
I mean, you see how close, I don't know what it is now, but like Kevin Looney is pretty damn close to being an all-star starter in the NBA. For the
yeah, I saw that. Remember when Zaza Pachulia was an all-star in the NBA?
Yeah. He was very close to being a starter as well.
So what's a bigger mockery? Tyler Huntley being named to the Pro Bowl, or a 23-year-old assistant coach playing in a JV basketball game against other 13-year-olds.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I'm going to go...
story, like, I saw the headline and I was like, wait, what? And started dying. Did you see the video?
Yeah.
She was like flexing on these girls. I was dying. All it made me think of was the dude that, the 25-year-old that pretended, like, created a fictitious birth certificate and pretended he was 18 years old so he could have high school eligibility years left. So he, at 25, enrolled in high school so that he could play basketball. And then he went to jail. What is wrong with people? We got a high school coach pretending she's 13. We got a dude who's 25 pretending he's 17, re-enrolling in high school so he can play. And then we got Tyler Huntley in the Pro Bowl.
Makes no sense.
No.
How do you think Ryan Tannehill feels? Like,
yeah.
I mean that Titans team had no business being as I know, but that they were still respectable. And they had no business being as good as they were.
Tyler Huntley may have the fewest passing yards to make a Pro Bowl in the modern era of football. In fact,
he has the fewest passing touchdowns. He has the fewest passing touchdowns, and it's not even close.
He has 658 yards on a 67 completion percentage. Actually, pretty good completion percentage. 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, a passer rating of 77.2. Not good. You know who else we might see in the Pro Bowl? Baker Mayfield. If that's what the threshold is. I don't even know what to say. I don't.
Yeah. But in terms of the Lions,
it's funny.
Is this the first of many for the Lions?
First of many Pro Bowls?
Pro Bowl selections.
I want to say yes, but at the same time, obviously this is a fan vote.
Yep.
So I don't know, like, is the Lions fan base as loud as like Philly's fan base? No. Chicago's fan base? Probably not. Like, there's fan bases that are bigger and louder than the Lions fan base is. So maybe not. I'd like to think so, yeah. And not to say that the players aren't deserving, because they are.
Mm-hmm. not to shift the conversation in the NBA, but like, because like you and I both agree that we do not like fan voting for All-Star games, Pro Bowls. But like, if you really want to do fan voting, if you really want like the fans to have an opinion, wouldn't it be more fun to have fan voting for the dunk contest and 3-point contest?
Yes.
Except they would probably put all the worst shooters in the 3-point.
I have like I'll be honest with you. Oh, dude, it'd be funny as hell. See, that's what I would want to see.
Yeah.
I'd want to see like Dwight Howard versus Andre Drummond going up against each other in the 3-point contest. It'd be funny as hell. And then just put out a regular dude.
Yeah.
Just like pick a guy from the crowd and he's going against him. That's what I'd want to see. But if you want, I have one stipulation. If you want to keep fan voting in for All-Star games and the Pro Bowl, etc., you remove it from any accolades board that they have. So like if you go to NBA stats reference for any player that's in the Hall of Fame, All-Star games is a mention on there. How many times they made the All-Star game? If you want to have fan voting, get rid of that. Don't ever have it in the conversation of how many All-Star games the guy made as a stipulation for why he's in the Hall of Fame or why he's one of the greats. It's all NBAs, Defense Player of the Year, Most Improved Player, Six-Man, MVP, whatever. That's it. That's all that counts. And in reality, it probably
at least in the NBA, the bench is selected by coaches.
Right. Well, that's a little bit better. But like, it probably is like they probably do get rid of the All-Star Game nominations, but getting into the Hall of Fame is a little bit of a popularity contest in sports, and that falls right in line with the All-Star nominations. So you got to get rid of it. If you're gonna have fan voting, get rid of it.
Yep.
It should be picked by. If it's going to count as an accolade for a guy's career, it should be picked by players, GMs, coaches, and that's it. Or writers. If you want to do writers, fine.
Sure.
They vote on the college awards anyway, so.
That's why they do the Academy Awards. They have everyone in the industry, and they have writers too that vote on.
Right.
Hey, can you imagine something like the Grammys or the Oscars were fan voted?
Oh, God. An Avengers movie would win every year.
Yeah, Marvel movies would just control the Oscars.
Right. And by no means are they the best movies of the year, almost ever. Like, they had a legitimate argument with Infinity War and Endgame, but outside of those years, I can't think of a year where they were...
I'm trying to remember, which ones got nominated for Best Picture? Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture. I know that.
I don't think it deserved to win.
Did both Infinity War and Endgame get nominated?
I don't think Endgame did.
And I think Wakanda Forever this year got nominated, didn't it? I
don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that.
Or was it just... I can't remember her name now.
It did not get nominated. Infinity War did not get nominated for Best Picture.
So just Endgame?
I'll check Endgame here.
Yeah, I think it was just Angela Bassett got nominated for Best Actress. That was it from Wakanda Forever.
Okay.
I think that was it.
Okay. But could you imagine fan votes for that?
It'd be insane.
It'd be ridiculous.
Now, if you wanted a fan vote category...
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm good with that. Like, fan favorite of the year type of thing. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be cool with that. It did not get nominated for... Endgame didn't get nominated for an Oscar either.
So it was just Black Panther?
It must have been. It got nominated for, like, Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, I'm talking about Best Picture. Yeah, I'm talking about Best Picture.
I think it was just... I kind of sworn Infinity War was.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, we can talk movies, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you guys are, followers from our old live show, we talked about movies a lot. I mean, half our show was movies back then. According to this was, yes, Best Motion Picture of the Year.
Yep.
Black Panther was nominated for four Oscars. Sound editing, sound mixing, Motion Picture of the Year, and...
I thought it was nominated for 7.
Sorry, it was 7. You're right. I was thinking that winner was also part of the nominee, but I guess not. Production design, costume design, and best achievement in music written for motion picture. So best original score was the winner, and then we should have a
special episode covering the Oscars this year.
Oh, jeez. That'll do great numbers.
Let us know in the comments below, whatever kids say nowadays.
Right. Yeah. Hit up the comments below, see if you guys want to talk movies with us. No.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, like, subscribe, turn on the alerts, or whatever. Oh, those are the days.
Oh man.
Live shows are fun to do.
Oh yeah.
Shall we move on to Pistons talk with trade deadline and stuff?
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, as we're all well aware, trade deadline November 9th in the NBA. As we're all also well aware, the Pistons are an abysmal basketball team that
They battled with the Rockets, minus
that
Jalen Green and KPJ and Şengün, and lost.
and still lost. But like, this is the worst part about that was like, not only did they lose, like they again just got outworked on the basketball court.
Yeah.
Which again, I feel like there's no excuse for it to happen this consistently.
No, it's honestly.
I've been harping on this every single podcast that we
They're
talk about the
embarrassing.
Pistons.
They're embarrassing. They really are, because their effort level is at an extreme low. They're honestly, it looks like some plays. It looks like they just do not care.
Yeah,
They have zero care on the basketball floor.
like and again, like just the nature of the NBA schedule and that grind. Your players are going to get tired. You're going to have games every now and then,
Right.
where they look lackadaisical. But for it to happen this consistently, that's coaching at that point.
Oh, absolutely. What is there any reason? I want you to try to give me one reason you keep Dwayne Casey as your head coach. And if I had a cricket drop on queued up,
right.
that's what would be playing
for
right
the
now.
crickets.
Yeah.
At this point, I got nothing. It's not. There's no defensible. Like even the things that he was touted for coming in, like it feels like he's no longer doing. Like player development feels like that's no longer a strength anymore. He was actually known for his defense. Feels like that's no longer
Certainly not
even existent. Not even a strength. It's not even existent.
Neither is
anymore.
the player development. Like, the guys we have that we're trying to develop are not developing.
Yeah,
they're not getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are getting worse.
Maybe the players like him. Maybe I don't know. I don't even know if that's true. So
they certainly don't play for him.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine they like him unless he's too soft on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Honestly, we should have known about Dwayne Casey. We should have known. The minute he said he judges recruits based on whether or not they make their beds, we should have known. It's so irrelevant. Yeah. I can't know anything about player development when he's talking about things like that. And he actually answered that question with that answer. He answered questions with that answer in interviews. He judges players based on if they make their beds.
That was Troy Weaver, though, wasn't it?
No, I'm pretty sure that was Dwayne Casey.
But hey, it's a mark of character.
No, it's not. I know tons of people who don't make their beds that are great people. Good character. They're also disciplined.
I make my bed sometimes on the weekend if I have time. But, during the week, I'm not going to be later to work.
Nah.
Because I want to make my bed just to get back in it after work.
Nah.
It's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. It is.
Enough about making beds.
Honestly, that is probably something that is just disappearing as generations go by, is how often you make your bed.
Yeah, it's a wasted effort.
It is. And that's life lessons with the Fan Report.
Yep.
Now let's talk some trade deadline.
So, courtesy of The Athletic, we have 2 whole articles with Pistons trade proposals. One is bogey-centered. And essentially what Athletic beat writer James Edwards did in this article is he actually reached out to other beat writers for other teams and garnered some offers for Bojan Bogdanović. I'm still doing that.
Yeah. Bogdan plays for the Hawks.
So I'm going to propose these offers to you, Nicholas. You're going to tell me whether you accept the offer or not.
Okay. I like it.
So from Cavs beat writer Kelsey Russo, a straight-up offer of Karis LeVert for Bogdanović.
Karis is significantly younger on an expiring deal. Honestly, I
think the salaries do match. I mean, I think they would.
I think they do match, yes. I think Bogdanović fits the team a little bit better, albeit doesn't fit the timeline as well. And honestly, I don't really care about an expiring contract because we already have oodles of money available.
It also means that you could target LeVert this summer,
right,
as a free agent,
right? Because I don't really,
and you might actually have a shot because he played for Michigan.
Right,
you
and I don't
might
really
actually
think
have
the
a shot.
Pacers are really going to look to try to re-sign him that badly, Or is
Well,
it
it's the Cavs.
Cavs now? Cavs now.
Yep.
I don't think they're really going to look to try to re-sign him that aggressively, especially considering what they have to pay coming up in Mobley and Jared Allen, and who knows and Darius Garland. Like, who knows what those contracts are going to look like. So I think Karis LeVert's going to be a free agent regardless, and you could, if you really want him that bad, go get him in free agency. No need to give up Bogdanovich, who is under contract for 2 more years, fits a need at 3-point shooting on your team as a wing. Like, it doesn't fit. Karis LeVert doesn't fit the basketball team and fit the plan in mind. He doesn't really fit the plan as much as Bogdanovich does. So I think I'll pass.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, this is one of the things I do agree with Troy Weaver in the fact that I'm not in the camp of trading Bogey just to trade him.
Right. And that very much would be a deal to trade him just to trade him.
Yeah, because you're talking about a guy that you could potentially just get in the offseason anyways. Now,
if you want him that bad.
You throw in a pick, maybe. But
do the Cavs Cavs don't have a pick. They traded them all for Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, they don't have a pick this year?
I don't think so. I don't even think they have one next year.
All right, maybe next year. It's probably not going to be a great pick, though, because I feel like the Cavs...
they're going to be a good basketball team. It's going to be a 20s pick. Let's see. The Cleveland Cavaliers, future picks. So their pick this year is lottery protected, top 14 protected. 15 to 30, it goes to Indiana, which it's not going to fall in the lottery. So they don't have their pick this year. They do have their first round pick next year. So, but after that, 25, they don't have their pick. Oh, they can't trade their pick next year.
Because back-to-back years?
Because 25 is gone, 27 is gone, 29 is gone. They can't trade their pick for the next, until 2031. Congratulations.
Good job. All right, moving on to Dallas. The Mavs beat writer, Tim Cato.
By the way, they don't even own the rights to their pick in 26 or 28 in between the years because those are swapped with Utah.
Nice. Oh, yeah, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
So Mavs received Bogey, which, by the way, Bogey does feel like a very Mavs-type player.
He does.
And the Pistons received Tim Hardaway Jr. and 2 second-round picks in 2025 and 2027.
So we're talking about 16-year-olds in the second round. All right. I don't hate Tim Hardaway as a player. I think he's a solid player, and I do think he kind of fits this
You get a
team
few years younger.
Yeah, a couple years younger. He'd be 31. He's going to be 31 this year. Pretty soon, actually. A little bit more expensive, and he's under contract pretty much for 2 more years after this year.
Would you rather have Hardaway, or would you rather try to get LeVert on the open market?
I think I'd rather keep Bogey and get LeVert on the open market, honestly, because I don't see Tim Hardaway as that much better of a ball player than Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert's a little bit younger. I don't see Karis LeVert commanding over $20 million, do you?
No.
So you're talking the years of Tim Hardaway you'd get are whatever you end up paying for his $19.5 million this year, almost 18, so 17.9 next year, and then 16.1 the year following. So it's obviously a front-loaded contract, but I don't see Karis LeVert being that much more expensive than Tim Hardaway Jr. He's younger, and you can still have Bogey on this roster. So I'll pass on that also. And I'm not in the business of giving a shit about second-round picks, especially 2-3 years from now.
I'm with you there. Lakers, probably just skip whatever they have to say. Joe Mambuha, Lakers beat writer, offers Pat Bev, Lonnie Walker, and a lottery-protected 2027 first-round pick for Bogey.
I actually do like Lonnie Walker, but I'll pass on all that. I don't care about a pick in 2027, especially considering in 2027 the Lakers are probably going to be bottom of the barrel. So, I'll pass.
Yeah, I think I'll pass as well. I mean, this is the first one we discussed that actually offers a first-round pick. But, again, it's protected and not for another, 5 years.
Right.
So,
and it's protected in a sense that, there's no way that actually happens. You're not getting the 2027 pick.
I do think Pat Bev can be a guy.
Value.
He can be like a tone setter for this locker room because he by himself plays harder than anyone on this team.
Combined.
But he also is older. How old is Pat Bev? 34. So you're not getting any younger by getting Pat Bev, and then
The one thing I'd say
Lonnie
is he
Walker,
would
in terms
be-
of a future player, is the one interesting piece.
The one thing I'd say about Pat Bev is he would be one of those adults in the room that
Exactly.
I do think would be beneficial to the young guys. Like I think
Yeah.
he'd be hugely beneficial to a guy like Killian Hayes.
Yeah, like if the Lakers were in a situation to offer a first round pick, maybe a little bit earlier than 2027.
Like this year.
Yeah, I mean that'd be nice, but like I'd even say even next year I would take it.
I'll be honest, like I don't care about picks. I don't. Fuck them picks. I'm done. I don't want to draft anymore.
Remember, we could still use picks as a trade asset. It's not
fine.
about drafting.
Yep, you're right. Fine. You can use picks to turn around and go get something else. That's fine. You're right. I'm done worrying about draft picks now.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I'm don't worry about like who to draft, but like I still would not scoff at future first just on the traded value that they would have. But yeah, as the offer stands, it's also probably a no. Next up, New Orleans Pelicans beat writer Will Gullery has offered up a trade of Devontae Graham, Kira Lewis Jr., and Jackson Hayes for Bogey and Rodney Magruder.
Graham, Kier Lewis Jr., and Jackson Hayes. I don't actually hate this one as much. I like the idea of Kira Lewis Jr. and what he can become.
I like the idea of Jackson Hayes.
Yeah. I mean, Kira Lewis Jr. in his last game played pretty well.
In Charlotte.
No, Devontae Graham is basically a swap for Rodney Magruder. Like I consider that a cancel out. Jackson Hayes and Kira Lewis Jr. Like Kira Lewis Jr. played pretty decently in 27 minutes. In 27 minutes in his last game, like he put up 15 points and 7-11 shooting, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Like that's not a bad game at all. He's a point guard though, which you already have a log jam there. He's a name, but he's a name that we had talked about the Pistons potentially drafting in that 2020 draft. You know, we talked about him as being a potential prospect that they could look at. They ended up going with Killian Hayes that year, which, fine. You know, he hasn't turned out to what we hoped he would, but behind him, who really has not named Tyrese Halliburton? Who would you, like, think back to that draft, that 2020 draft. The guys drafted behind Killian Hayes. Obi Toppin, Denis Avadia, Jalen Smith, Devin Vassell.
Yeah, it wasn't a great draft, but Devin Vassell is starting to come in his own now.
He is.
But Halliburton is the big one that.
Yeah, Halliburton is the big one, and he's the guy that we talked about.
Yeah, and I'll admit I didn't like him.
I didn't either. Like, he wasn't my preferred pick.
Yeah,
I was all Killian Hayes the entire time.
Then again, he completely defied all his scouting reports, so there is that.
Yes, he did. He turned out to be Tyrese Maxey's turned out to be a pretty nice player.
I love Tyrese Maxey. That's both times that we traded up. There was 2 players that I was eyeing when we traded up. Sadiq Bey was one of them. Tyrese Maxey was the other one. Isaiah Stewart was never on my radar. But it was when we kept trading up, it was always Sadiq or Tyrese. And the first time was Isaiah Stewart. I'm like, what?
Desmond Baines turned out to be a pretty solid player. Trying to see who else. You know, there was another Bay drafted in that draft. Tyler Bay, drafted by Philly.
Yep.
That was a Saban Lee draft also.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, in general, that was not a great draft class.
No, absolutely not.
It's not like we missed out on a ton when we took Killian Hayes. Like,
just Halliburton. Halliburton and Maxey are probably the 2 biggest names you missed out on.
Yeah. But, all right, final offer here.
Did we decide if we liked this one?
Oh, yeah, we didn't decide if we liked this one. Purely on a player level, this might be the most interesting, even though we don't really need another point guard in the room.
Right.
We could use another big at the moment. That's where Jackson Hayes could come in. And if Devontae Graham can somehow be some kind of reclamation they can get back to his Charlotte days, I don't know. But,
I don't see that happening, my friend.
Yeah, I did used to like Devontae Graham in Charlotte. But I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no also. You have 2...
For not having a pick, just the level of players aren't good enough.
Yeah, you just have 2 low to mid tier prospects that one of which is at a logjam position that you already are struggling to figure out playing situation with. Not to mention, you're drafting in a spot where you could get another guy at that position. So I'm good. I'll probably pass on this.
But like a name like Jackson Hayes or Kira Lewis, like that's or even about that's the exact type of name I would want attached to a first round pick. Like that's. But all right, final offers from Eric Kareen, the beat writer for the Raptors. Raptors received Bogdanovich, and that's it.
He kind of fits in that team also.
Pistons, yeah, you're right. Pistons receive Chris Boucher, Thaddeus Young, and a lottery protected 2023 first round pick. It remains lottery protected in 2024. If it's not conveyed by then, it turns into second round picks in 2025 and 2026, as well as an additional 2023 second round pick.
This one's intriguing.
So
I like Chris Boucher. I do. He's not the greatest player, but coming off the bench, he can be productive.
Yeah. And Thaddeus Young getting an adult in the room about how much of a leader Thaddeus Young is.
I mean, Chris Boucher's an adult in the room too. He's 30, But
then if we really look at this pick, I think in all likelihood you were talking
2 second round picks.
Total, and then plus the 2023 second round picks, so a total of 3 second round picks. I think what we're looking at here.
Right.
Which that's not, and like unless we think there's a chance that the Raptors can finish in the lottery this year or next year.
I think for me to want to trade.
Wait a minute. Well, so I'm thinking this backwards. Lottery protect, so it would convey if they're outside the lottery.
Yes.
So wait a minute. There's a chance this conveys then. I know they're not great right now, but
no, they're not. But you're talking about their. I'll be honest with you. I think this is conveying this year, or not conveying this year. I think it's 23 and 29. They're fourth worst in the East.
Yeah, they're on the way down, aren't they?
Yeah, they'd be fourth worst in the West. Sorry, third worst in the West. So yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay.
They'd be number 7 in the lottery right now, I believe.
So if we're going to make the bet that doesn't convey, then I'm out.
Yeah, which in all likelihood,
Boucher and Young are not enough for me to.
No, absolutely not.
3 second round picks is not juice up Boucher and Young enough for me to take this deal.
And I'll agree with you. Like, frankly, for me to even really consider trading Bogdanovich, and this may just me being a typical fan, overvalue your own talent type of guy, but we're talking about a guy who's a high-level three-point shooter, who's under contract for 2 years.
20-plus point per game scorer.
Right. Yeah, I have to be able to get a first-round pick this year, not one that I'm worried about not conveying this year or next year. Like, I got to get a first-round pick either this year or next year for sure.
Yeah.
And the higher that pick, the more interested I am. But at the very least, it's got to be a pick that I get, a first-round pick that I get either this year or next year at the worst. Like, that's where the conversation starts for me. And if you want to add a piece like a Kira Lewis Jr. or something like that to it, awesome. You know, that'll be a big sweetener. But I'm not going to trade you Bogdanovich for a pick that I'm not going to see until 2027 or multiple second-round picks because I don't care about second-round picks. I never have. If I had the option to trade away all of my second-round picks forever for some type of asset that I could bring in here, I'd do it every time. Even if I wasn't sure if that asset was going to be super productive. If it was a bench guy that I could play 20 minutes a game and he didn't suck, yeah, I'd do that. Because how many second-round picks even turn into that? Not many. Of these trade proposals, that one's the most intriguing, but unless I can say I'm getting that pick next year, I'm good.
Right. Yeah. And it just goes back to what we were saying, that like it's not like we're dealing from a position of we need to get rid of Bogey. This is dealing from a position of convince me to give him right kind of thing.
We have the leverage here, unless and you know the report came out that Tom Gores had told Bogdanovich that we're in a position to be great and we're building to be great and you're in the plans for the future of this team. And
I got the exact quote if you want it.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me the exact quote here.
All right. So this is according to Hoops Hype, but having conversations with the club. This is quoting Bogey, by the way. Having conversations with the club, Troy and the owners, they assured me that we're going to be great next year. We have a lot of cap space to sign great players. We're going to have a high pick again, so that's going to help us a lot. We have a great young group of guys. When Cade went down, that kind of hurt us big time. We were thinking that maybe we'd be fighting for the play-in tournament, but when he went down, he was our main guy. all of our offensive strategies were connected to him. When he went down, our season, we've had a lot of ups and downs without him.
That honestly tells me how razor thin you are first. That
Right?
every one of your offensive strategy was centered around him. Okay, what about your defensive strategies, by the way?
Well, yeah, right.
Were all of those centered around him too?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I could have forgiven if we looked disjointed offensively, but
Which we do.
we do. But the complete lack of effort at the, for the same point, the defensive end of the basketball.
Right.
God damn. Okay.
Like,
Sorry. I'm gonna.
I get that sound, and I kind of, when I sent that to you and our buddy Alex this morning, I said, why does this just sound like a team that's trying to not have a guy asked to be traded out, or the team trying to convince a guy not to demand a trade?
Yep.
Because that's exactly what that sounds like to me. No, please don't go. We have something big coming. We promise. We swear.
I'll be better, I promise.
Yeah, like it's the please don't go is what that sounds like to me. But until something actually comes out where that's the case, that Bogdanovich doesn't want to be here, Pistons have the leverage on him. They don't need to trade him, and they may be better off by not trading him. Not one of those players that was mentioned is an upgrade to Bogdanovich. They're all downgrades, and pretty significant ones.
Yeah.
So why would you trade the asset that you have? Why are we so intent on trading good players away? I get and I see all these analysis pieces from insert, Pistons writer that's outside the beat here saying the Pistons need to be active at the deadline. If they're active at if they're not active at the deadline, all hell breaks loose. Everything falls to the ground and burns. Blah blah blah. Fire Troy Weaver right away. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, if the Pistons do nothing at the deadline, honestly, I won't even be that mad.
Yep.
Because this is a wasted season. Like, we don't know what we have yet. We don't know. Like, we have no idea if Sadiq Bey is going to be a good basketball player ever again. We have no idea if Killian Hayes is going to continue this improvement. We have no idea if the revamped Isaiah Stewart is going to be able to continue, which, by the way, he's taken a step back in that regard as of late. His shooting splits have dropped.
Troy. I mean, Dwayne.
I am. Don't get me wrong.
He stopped playing him and Duran together, which and because when he played him and Duran together, Isaiah Stewart became more of a perimeter big.
Outside, yes.
Yeah, and now he's back to being an interior big and not and getting in any kind of rhythm. So
you don't have Cade. You didn't get to see Cade and Ivy together. Like, we can sit tight this trade deadline. Like, guys like Nerlens Noel that you don't even play anyway, sure, ship him out for a second round.
I don't understand why we don't play him.
I don't either.
Even with Bagley hurt now, I would rather have Noel come off the bench, start Stu and Duran together.
Well, the conspiracy theories I've seen behind that is Stewart and Duran together were playing too well and they don't want to actually win games.
That is certainly possible.
And Noel would help them win games by allowing Duran and Stewart to play together.
Yeah.
You really want to screw things up? Put Noel and Duran together. That'll create problems.
Well, and he'd immediately be your best offensive big.
Yes, he would. But guys like Nerlens Noel, go ahead and ship him out of town. Rodney Magruder, ship him out of town. Alec Burks, even go ahead and trade him away. I don't care. But guys that you can look at and say, all right, this is a definite bona fide asset on your roster. Why get rid of it? Insert Cade Cunningham into that with Bogdanovich. Now you have two guys that can score 20 points a game. Then you add in a top 3 pick. Now you have potentially 3 guys that can score 20 points a game. Plus you have Jaden Ivey. Plus you have Jalen Duran. You start to actually have some pieces here that you can say, okay. And he's an adult in the room.
Yeah.
Not to mention you have $40 million cap space to go and find another guy that can average 20 points a game. Go figure.
That gets me to our next bit of deadline talk here, which we have a couple actual rumors surrounding the Pistons. One about someone the Pistons have shown interest in, and one about someone on the Pistons that other teams have shown interest in.
Before you get into this, I want to ask you one question. Are the Pistons still rebuilding? Let me rephrase that.
If we're done rebuilding, then it's rebuilding until we're ready to compete. Let me
rephrase
in between.
That. Are the Pistons still in the midst of a full rebuild, or are they now complementing their building blocks?
That's a better question. Where they should be right now is complementing their building blocks. Because in theory, they have their building blocks in
They've
place.
had
now.
7 first-round picks.
Yeah.
In 3
However,
years.
do we want to approach this offseason fully committing to the guys we have, or do we want to keep our minds open to adding potentially other building blocks to this team? I think it's the latter.
Well, I think as a responsible GM, you have to keep your mind open. Like if an opportunity presents yourself, you can't be closed-minded to it. You got to keep your options open and see what's out there.
In theory, you have your building blocks in guys like Cade, Duran, Ivy.
I think your building blocks begin and end with Cade and Duran. Right here, right now. I'm not ready to say Ivy is a building block. I think he is a really solid supplemental piece. Like, if he turns into the type of piece that Chris Middleton is for Milwaukee, that's great. That's what I want.
Yeah.
A guy you can look at and ask to score the basketball consistently and effectively. Yeah. He's not a building block. He's a really high-level supplemental piece. That's what I want out of Jaden Ivey. But you're also looking at adding another top 3 pick this year. That's how many now? You're adding...
And let's be honest, if it's a top 2, maybe in general top 3, if you land in the top 3, that's going to be the building block.
That's a cornerstone piece.
Yeah,
that's Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, or who I can't tell you exactly who the third guy would be. There's a number of names.
That's still up for debate. Yep.
Right, but that's a cornerstone piece that goes right up there alongside Cade Cunningham. And I'm not even quite ready to say Jalen Duren is a building block piece yet. He could probably be a supplemental piece.
That's what I'm saying. We can't. It's in theory. We can't defend. The only guy we can actually defend, we say, is a building block piece is Cade Cunningham. Like, everything else is in theory. That's why I said in theory you have building block pieces in place if these guys pan out. But can you approach it as if these are your true building blocks? That's the question.
I asked the question because it really kind of changes the mindset of how you look at your salary cap space and how you look at your trade deadline assets. Because if this team truly is supplementing a rebuild now and not in a full rebuild,
which is, again, where they should be.
Which is, is where they should be. You aren't looking to use your cap space to add draft capital at that point. You're looking to add a piece in free agency that is a big-time piece, as opposed to taking on big contracts that teams are trying to get rid of in exchange for draft picks.
Agreed.
So go ahead and continue with your question here and your topic.
So, do you want to start with who the Pistons are showing interest in, or would you like to start with who on the Pistons has garnered interest?
Surprise me.
All right, let's talk about who the Pistons showing interest in. According to Mark Stein, NBA insider Mark Stein, the Pistons are among a couple of teams that have been inquiring about Chicago Bulls guard Ayu Dosunmu. Now, Ayu Dosunmu was a rookie, I believe, last year, and he had a solid rookie campaign. Kind of a guy who could sort of do it all, but not great at any one specific
I like
thing.
Ayu Dosunmu. I'm just going to throw it out there. I like
he
him
was on my fantasy team.
I like him
last year. But he
does a lot of things well, just nothing great.
Yeah, but in terms of like the
good defender though.
Yeah, in terms of the type of guy he is on the court, it's the kind of guy I want on this team, regardless of age. Like, this is a guy that's going to give it all.
He's a Marcus Smart type player. Yeah, a guy that does everything.
It's a good comparison. He's a closer Marcus Smart comparison to Killian Hayes is.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
What's it going to take to get him though?
That's where we're gonna.
If you get a guy like Dosunmu, you're effectively saying bye-bye to Killian Hayes, though, right?
I don't mind having 2 defensive guards.
Who's gonna? The problem is when you play them both, is who's gonna run the floor, and who's covering the bigger twos. Like I guess Killian could. Like you're gonna draw some matchup issues there, and you're gonna create some as well. But who's running the offense? Neither guy is that effective off the ball, so you have a bit of an issue at the offensive end of the floor. And
Dosunmu is a guy you will have to re-sign at the end of the year because he's an expiring deal. But if considering the fact that it sounds like we're not the only team interested in him, there might not be that opening to sign him this offseason because he may get traded. He may get dealt to a team that extends him.
Right.
But yeah, like again, if you're trading for him at the deadline, you have the second half of this season to kind of experiment around, see how your rotations are going to work. But in general, yes, he does make someone like Killian Hayes expendable. but I'm not gonna lie, with the way this defense looks, I don't mind having a couple defensive guards in the roster.
You need somebody like this for sure,
Yeah.
especially on this roster that's so razor thin at the moment. Like,
Yeah,
you can.
And
It's a lot easier to
we're
stagger
not
those
thin
guys
at guard,
this year.
but
Right, it's a lot easier to stagger those guys this year. But
Yeah.
you got to remember that one of the most likely landing spots for the Pistons is another point guard in the draft. So going after what would effectively turn the Pistons backcourt into a gluttonous situation where you have 5 point guards effectively that you don't want to, 5 small point guards that you don't really, I can't say small, but like 5 point guards you don't really want to get rid of. It makes things kind of complicated. Because, say you do get Scoot Henderson, you've got Cade, you've got Scoot, you've got Ivy, you've got Killian, you've got Dosunmu. Like, it makes it almost too much to where then you lose your leverage in the trade conversation as well, because not a lot of guys are not going to be happy in that situation, so they're going to want out. Like, what are the chances you get to re-sign Dosunmu at that point? Probably slim to none. So
and I don't think he's going to be all that expensive to re-sign.
No, I don't either.
He's going to be more expensive than Killian, but I don't think he's going to be all that expensive.
I like Dosunmu. I struggle to see a fit with him with this roster the way it is.
So, obviously not giving up a first-round pick for someone like Dosunmu, but like, what level of asset
I think a team
are you ready to give up?
I think a team is willing to give up a first-round pick for Dosunmu. I do.
Then I'm out.
I am too. Like, it doesn't fit for me because your picks are too high for what he's probably going to get. Like, it's probably, this is where I would say a team like Dallas would give up a lottery protected first-round pick maybe, or or the Raptors, a lottery protected first-round pick. And that would make sense. And that's probably what he would end up getting in the trade market. And frankly, you don't have, like, you can offer up a lottery protected first round pick, but what would be the point? It's not going to come to fruition for how many years?
Yeah. Yeah, we did with the Knicks, or it's so heavily protected that's why we're never going to convey.
Right. Like, it's just, I don't see a situation where it makes sense for the Pistons to go after Dosunmu. Like, he is a rental. You don't know if you're going to be able to re-sign him. You're less likely to re-sign him because of the point guard situation you have and will have. It just doesn't really make sense. I like the player a lot. I just don't see it being something that works out.
What if we traded Kojo?
As much as I want to get rid of Kojo, what else is it going to take?
Kojo in a second.
That is the greatest Pistons trade deal of all trade deals. Donald Trump would be proud.
You mean better than when we got Burks Noel in 2 seconds for nothing?
That's a pretty far up there.
All right. Now, in terms of Pistons players that have garnered some interest, this has already been reported previously, but it's gotten more heat again around the trade deadline, and this is now coming from Ian Begley of NBA Insider of SNY. Which is something New York.
SNY.
What does SNY? What is their network? It's
Sportsnet New York. That's what it is. Sportsnet.
Okay. Anyway, and I quote: "In general, a name that has been talked about recently is Saddiq Bey in Detroit. The Knicks are among the teams that have registered some interest in Saddiq. I don't know how far discussions have gotten, but Bey, obviously a Villanova guy, a wing, could help the Knicks from a depth perspective. Do the Knicks have anything to offer?
That's a good question. I
that
can
would
find
interest
out.
You.
I actually think he would fit really well in the Knicks system.
He would.
He wouldn't really be asked to do a whole bunch because you have the presence of Jalen Brunson. You have Julius Randle there. You've got some talent. I think he would add a lot of depth. Jesus, the Knicks trade situation is a mess. Like, it is incredibly long, or the pick situation. But I think it could also be beneficial to Saddiq Bey. Like, the change of scenery could really help him. I'm not saying I want to trade Saddiq Bey. I want to keep Saddiq Bey. I want to see him go back to the basketball player he was last year and the year before. But I do think it could be beneficial. So, they have their own. Dallas's, if it's 11 through 30, own Dallas 11 through 30.
Dallas is top 10 protected. Got it.
Detroit 19 through 30 via Houston to OKC.
Oh, yeah. This is the heavily protected pick that we sent
Christian
them.
Wood trade, right?
No, this is this would have been I think
Christian
in
Wood trade.
The Duran trade.
Was it the Duran trade?
Yeah, so this
I
is the
thought that
one
was
that
a
we
25 pick for Jeremy Grant that we got. We got the 25 pick from Portland, and then we turned that into Jalen Duran.
But all I know is that the pick that they have
because this says it's via Houston, which would tell me it's the.
Then maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
I think this is the Christian Wood trade, sign and trade.
Okay.
It is heavily protected. It's protected anywhere beyond 18.
Who did we trade the insanely heavily protected first round pick to? I thought it was the Knicks.
I'll send you this thing here, and you try to make some sense out of it.
But
via Houston to OKC, Washington 15 through 30 via Houston to OKC. So they could potentially have 4 first round picks if I'm reading this right. But I don't see any of them coming. Dallas's might come to fruition. Actually, Dallas's will convey. Detroit's won't. Washington's won't. So 2 first round picks. So the Knicks do have a first round pick this year that they can trade. Honestly, that's what it would take for me.
A first round pick?
Yeah. Sadiq has shown an ability to be effective in this league. Sure, he's not as good as he once was just because of, but I think it's purely because of coaching. I still value Sadiq Bey as a high-level player, as a potential high-level player. I'm not saying he is right now, because he's not. But in terms of the value on the open market, he's young. He's probably not going to be that expensive once you try to re-sign him, because I believe he's got 1 more year left, if I recall. I'd say a first-round pick. And the next first-round pick is probably going to be in the 20s, maybe? Somewhere around there?
Yeah. Because they're a pretty solid team this year.
They are the 7 seed at 27 and 24, which would put them as the 6th seed in the West. Sorry, the 5th seed in the West. So, yeah, probably somewhere in the early 20s is my guess. So, yeah, a lottery protected first round pick if you want to be, if you want to be truthful about it. Yeah, that's what I would do for Sadiq Bey. And you don't even really have to give me much beyond that, frankly.
What about someone like RJ Barrett?
They'd be willing to trade RJ Barrett?
You'd probably swing the pot on your end.
I was gonna say, what else are we giving up then?
If the whole angle the Knicks are taking on a Sadiq Bey trade is for wing depth, I doubt they'd want to do a wing for a wing.
So that Detroit pick is the one for Christian Wood, because if you look through, it's via Houston to OKC this year, via Houston to OKC, protected top 18 again. Following year, via Houston to OKC, top 13 protected. Then in 2026, top 11 protected. Then in 2027, top 9 protected, if not already settled. So that's the heavily protected pick that I believe we got in the Christian Wood sign and trade.
Yeah, there's another one that's solidly protected that it does convey to seconds, to like 2 seconds at some point.
I think it's that one.
Maybe. How about pivoting a little bit here?
Okay. So I'm looking back at the sign and trade. Top 16 protected, 21-22, which already happened. Top 18 and 23-24, top 13-25, top 11-26, top 9-27. If it still hasn't changed hands by that point, the Rockets will get a 2027 second round pick, which
that makes sense.
Goes to New York. Actually, first went to OKC and then came to New York, from what I'm seeing.
Okay.
And that's why the next trade, draft pick situation looks like a mess, because it's all over the place.
Yeah. One other trade. Now, this isn't an actual rumor or anything, but one trade idea that I saw floating out there was trading for Duncan Robinson, and this was the Bogey deal. This was trading Bogey. I believe it was for Duncan Robinson and Nikola Jovic of the Miami Heat.
So Jovic, a prospect that likely isn't going to be anything. He was a second round pick, or what? Did he end up in the first?
No, he was the first.
Was he a first? Okay. Your contract with Duncan Robinson is not terrible. 18.1 next year, 19.4
It's just long.
following, and then you've got
you're on the hook for a few
19.8 option. It's an early termination option, and the following.
You're on the hook for a while.
You're on the hook for as long as you are with Bogdanovich, 2 years, and then you've got an early term.
Oh, I didn't know about the early term.
Yeah, you've got 9.8 mil is guaranteed of that 19.8.
Okay.
And that 3rd year option. It's
okay. I found the trade. This is from Pistons Powered. So, in the trade, the Heat would get Bogey. The Pistons get Duncan Robinson, Nikola Jovic, a 2023 first that's top 4 protected, and a 2028 second.
Top 4 protected from Miami? Are they even close to the top 4?
Nope.
Could they even get into the top 4?
I mean, theoretically, but
where are
I wouldn't bet on it. Couldn't you argue though that Miami?
I don't, because I think they're outside the lottery. I don't think they can get in the top 4.
That's what I'm saying, like, so we would get the pick.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, couldn't you argue though with Miami specifically? That's one team you want to bet on being worse in like in a couple of years. I mean,
but again, why do I care about a pick? Why do I care about a pick in 2025 though?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not complaining about 2023 pick and 2023 first, but what I'm saying is like, if I was a team that was trying to collect some draft capital, I feel like a 2025 Miami first could be a pretty valuable pick.
Sure, but why do we care about a 2025 first? We're going to be a winning basketball team that is a complete basketball team at that point. Why do we care about a 2025 first?
The same reason the Celtics cared about the Brooklyn first round pick.
And how many championships has that turned into?
They should have one soon. It's a good team.
You'd think this year, yeah. But, I don't see a reason that we really need to push things off for another 2 years.
I'm not. That was just an aside. I'm not saying that we should take the 2023 and so that's for 2025.
The thing is like we'd effectively
that was just a side note kind of thing.
All value of Bogdanovich for 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. That was a side note. I'm not saying we should actually kick the 2023 down to 2025. That's what I say. I'm not complaining about getting a 2023.
Well, like if they offered a 2025 first round pick in that, I'd probably say no. Because I'm not giving up the 2 years of value that we get with Bogdanovich, the 2 immediate years of value we get with him, for value that would come most likely in how many years? 3, 4, 5? 5 years from now is where you'd start to see real value from that, because the pick is what? Your 7th overall pick in 2025?
So Duncan and Jovic aren't really needle movers for you?
I mean, I like Duncan quite a bit. Jovic probably not. Has he done anything?
He's actually been like on and off hurt this year.
And Duncan's been out for several weeks.
Yeah. And Duncan, am I just imagining things? Did Duncan start off the year like pretty damn cold?
Yes, he did. He did. I like Duncan Robinson as a player, but he's an undersized 2 guard. He does nothing but score the ball, and he shoots from outside. Mm-hmm. But no. Like, the 2023 first is intriguing. I won't lie. And honestly, if it's a 2023 first, I'd probably do it at that point.
I will say it's better than any trade that
absolutely.
Any of those beat writers offer.
Yes, absolutely. Like, it's one that I'd actually consider, because you're getting a 2023 first that's going to convey this year. Mm-hmm. You're getting a guy who is a legitimate contributor to your roster right here, right now in Duncan Robinson, and then a future prospect. Yeah, I'd probably do the trade as is, but if you're going to tell me it's a 2025 pick, no, that's probably where I'd say no. Yeah. But trade as is with the 2023 pick, yeah, I'd do it. Going back to
that could be your hedge if you somehow fall in the lottery. You could maybe package those 2 picks and see if you can move up.
Yeah. Now, my question for you, and going back to the Saddiq Bey thing, is what would it take to get for the Knicks to come get Saddiq Bey from you? Saddiq Bey trade, not pick.
So, yeah, if we're operating from the view of obviously a guy like RJ Barrett is not going to be on the table. Cam Reddish, not all that interested in when we're talking about for Saddiq Bey, not all that interested in it. And if they're pretty much tied up in their first round picks, you said, right?
Wait, say that again.
You said they're pretty much tied up on their first round picks?
No, their first round pick is available. They own their first round pick.
Ah, okay.
It's their second first round pick that kind of sort of belongs to us. With the Rockets are also involved in there. It's a mess. But their first round pick, I do believe they own. So
do you think Mitchell Robinson at first is asking too much for Sadiq Bey?
probably. I mean, we got to be realistic about what the value from Sadiq Bey actually is right now.
That's what I'm trying to gauge if I'm overvaluing Sadiq or not.
Probably. Because Mitchell Robinson was looked at as one of the more sought-after centers in free agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he plays all of what? Like
True.
20 minutes per game?
It's probably too much for New York, but I'd say it's enough for me. Mm-hmm. But I'm probably valuing Sadiq Bey too much. Because, again, his value is probably tanked. But I value Sadiq Bey more than another team probably does. Mm-hmm. In terms of the value he is worth, not the value he's providing. And that's kind of where the disconnect is he's not providing the value that I think he's worth. Which
again, makes it difficult to trade him. Because you're going to be feeling like you're trading Sadiq Bey at a discount.
So if a team wants Sadiq Bey, like I'm not going to give you, like I'm not going to give him to you for the value that he's providing right now. It doesn't make sense because he's worth more to the Pistons because he's potentially a part of the future of the team.
Yeah. Last year, like Sadiq Bey for Mitchell Robinson the first that'd be something I have to think about. Like I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Right. But Sadiq Bey was a really high level basketball player last year. But here, think about it this way. A team like the Knicks would be bringing Sadiq Bey in to give them the player, to have the player be a supplemental piece to what they've already built, and they're fine bringing him in for what he is now. Because the player he is now,
so they're not going to overpay.
Benefit to them.
They're viewing it as a depth play.
We value Sadiq Bey as a guy who could potentially be a very impactful piece of the future of this team. Other teams don't look at him like that.
We're sitting here hoping Sadiq Bey is like at worst a 6 man off the bench.
Right, and at best, DeMar DeRozan. Like, we don't have the same value that between the two. Like, it doesn't equate there. So you're not going to ever get fair value for what we think Sadiq Bey is to the Pistons. Anything else, Dad?
So then what do the Pistons do at this deadline?
I think you trade Nurks. I think you trade Burks, you trade Noel, and then you're done.
Is that what you want to happen or what you think will happen?
It is what I want to happen. I think you'll have one of the two traded, and I don't think you'll see much else. If the Pistons here, there are some kind of key signs to look for at the deadline. If the Pistons are taking on bad contracts to get picks, this team is
they're extending the rebuild.
Yes, this team is a few years off from being competitive. Which at that point, then they lied to Bogdanovich.
But what they said to Bogey is to be believed. That's not the strategy they're going to take.
But if they're trading young assets to bring in players who contribute now, guys similar to Bogdanovich in terms of where they are in their careers and the level of play on the floor, this team's trying to win now. And if they're trading Bogdanovich, then we're probably extending the rebuild more. Like it's just there's key signs to look at, and some of them are not exciting as Pistons fans. But in all reality, I do think they should look to trade those two guys I mentioned in Burks and Noel. And beyond that, I don't really see there being a need to do much else. I don't. At this deadline.
Yeah. I think just as from a pure fan perspective, I am just craving us to bring someone in that's just going to kind of shake things up a bit.
If you were to tell me that the Pistons were to make a Donovan Mitchell-esque trade for
not like that,
Devin Booker, I would go nuts.
That.
Like, yeah, we're trading our pick this year and trading Jaden Ivey for Devin Booker. Yeah, I'd be ecstatic. Like
even a fresh face like Ayodesomu, for example, I'd be pretty damn happy about that.
I mean,
as long as we didn't give up a ton for him. Yeah. As long as we didn't give up a ton.
How about this? Would you trade Sadiq Bey for Ayodesomu?
That's a great question. Maybe with give me Ayo in a first.
You're not getting that. Hell no. You're not getting. That's no way. Honestly, for that.
Okay, now I think you might be overvaluing Ayodesomu.
You probably would have to
because I think Mitchell Robinson's trade value is higher than Ayodesomu's.
I don't. I think you'd have to attach a pick to Sadiq Bey to get Ayodesomu. He's a far more productive player than Sadiq Bey right here, right now. Remember, we value Sadiq Bey as a piece of the future. Other teams do not. They value him as a piece to add to what they have right here, right now.
It's be very interesting to see what Ayu goes for his trade deadline if he gets traded.
It is. Because I think the Bulls value. I think Ayu is a very similar like value.
So you think if
value to Sadiq Bey? I think the Bulls.
If he gets traded first, it'll set the market for Sadiq. Is what you're saying? If he gets traded, if Ayu gets dealt before we do anything with Sadiq, you think that's basically going to set the market for Sadiq?
Potentially, yes. Because I think the Bulls look at him as a potential future piece of their organization versus other teams probably don't. Yeah. Much like Sadiq Bey. So yeah, it very well could set the market for Sadiq Bey.
By the way, the other team that is supposedly in pursuit of Dosunmu is the Hornets.
It's an interesting one. Don't they have a gluttony of guards too? Who do they have?
Yeah. Oh, I have... Okay, this is what we can close off on. I have a mock trade from Chicago sports publication, Chicago Sports News. It's called
yeah, they've got a gluttony of guards. LaMelo Ball, Book Knight, Theo Maledon, Kelly Oubre, Terry Rozier, Dennis Smith Jr. Like they've got a lot of guards in that roster. All right, go ahead, mock trade. Let's hear it.
So, I think you're gonna like this.
Okay. Who is this by?
It's from they have one for the Hornets and they have one for the Pistons.
Okay.
Who would you like to hear first?
Give me the Hornets first, then give me the Pistons.
Bulls trade Lonzo Ball and Ayu Dosunmu for Terry Rozier.
If I'm the Hornets, I do that in a minute.
Right?
In a minute.
You're gonna love the Pistons one.
The chance to put Lonzo with LaMelo on the same team is honestly sexy as hell. And you have Ayu Dosunmu with it. Yeah, I'd do that in a minute.
Pistons. Bulls trade Ayu Dosunmu and Dalen Terry for Killian Hayes.
Can I get the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other here? Is it weird that I'm actually a little hesitant on it?
One of the justifications here, so they said, well, first they said like Hayes and Dosunmu, similar players, put up similar numbers. Apparently, Bulls GM liked Hayes in the 2020 draft, so this person is speculating that might interest the Bulls.
Is it weird that I'm kind of hesitant on it?
On trading Hayes for Ayu?
Yeah.
Ayu?
Like, is that weird?
No, because I've kind of fallen in love with Hayes all over again this year.
I have too. Like, I've liked him this year. He's
as inconsistent as he's been.
I've seen a lot of good flashes out of him. I see him being potentially a solid basketball player. I don't see him being much worse than Dosunmu, and he's cheaper.
Yeah.
And he will be cheaper. I don't know. I'm not all about it. It's funny. Just because quite literally Spider-Man meme, but like...
Yeah, right?
I think I'll pass. I'll keep my cheaper guy who does the same thing.
Now I officially don't know what the market is for Dosunmu.
No, I don't either. I have no idea.
Now I'm lost.
Yeah, same, because I pretty much said earlier, oh yeah, probably lottery protected first, which that's an interesting question also. What do you think Killian Hayes would get on a trade market right now?
Ayu Dosunmu. No, I genuinely do not think that. I think Killian Hayes is still like it almost feels like
he's probably viewed as a bust.
I feel like his play still hasn't like leaked out of Detroit,
right?
At least like in the NBA fan circles, like not many people are recognizing like they're still viewing Killian Hayes as not even an NBA player.
Right. So, granted, he did get a lot of betting attention when over in the France game. Some people are paying attention, but
not anymore.
No. That'll never happen again. You had your shot, you blew it. You blew it. But
I've never bet so hard on a single player in my life.
And then to just be let down.
Yep.
But it's honestly tough to gauge his value on an open market. Not to mention I don't want the Pistons to trade him because I like what we've seen, but you could argue that his value has almost never been higher since he was drafted. So
yeah, but then you could also argue that we now have an argument for his potential again. So
right. So I don't know. But anyways, anything else to add before we close out?
No, that's about it.
That is going to call for this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast, where you can find them. We will catch you guys next week. Have a good weekend, good rest of your week, and we'll see you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
Poor fans.
Peace out, guys.
Peace.